Welcome back to Alpha Recap, the quick, smart rundown of the market day from stockalpha.ai. The markets were closed for the day, so we're talking about what happened after the close. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai.
Thanks, great to be here. Lots to unpack from a day where headlines, technical moves, and discrete corporate catalysts all intersected.
Let's jump into the big three that set the tone. Adobe fell to a new 52-week low. Microsoft slipped below $400 in a pretty clear hourly oversold downtrend, and InterDigital signed a patent license deal with Amazon. Those three stories seemed to drive a lot of the flow today. So, what really stands out here is...
Right. Adobe hitting that low and Microsoft breaking a round dollar level were technical events that triggered fresh valuation conversations. And then you had the InterDigital licensing news, which was fundamentally positive for that smaller company. It was a day of bifurcation.
Okay, start with Adobe. It finished the day down at about $224, a 52-week low. How should listeners think about that?
When a big software name hits a new low, it changes the conversation. Analysts and quant strategies start to question valuation anchors and momentum factors. So, when you step back and look at this, a new low can accelerate volatility because it forces some funds to rebalance or trim exposure.
And we saw similar technical pressure in Microsoft. It fell below $400 in an hourly oversold push. That felt like short-term volatility to me.
Exactly. Microsoft's move was less about fundamentals today and more about price action. Traders pointed to the hourly oversold indicators, which often means elevated short-term risk. Credit and options players respond quickly. Implied volatility and short-term premiums tend to widen after that sort of move.
Not a great day for big software momentum, huh?
No, not great for momentum-driven allocations. But it's important to separate moves that are purely technical from those that reflect new fundamental information. Earnings and guidance will be the next real test for whether these re-rates stick.
Hold on, say that again. Earnings will be the next test?
Right. If Adobe or Microsoft come out with guidance that eases concerns, that technical pressure can unwind. If not, analysts may revise forecasts and the re-rate could persist.
All right, shifting gears to the more constructive end of the tape. InterDigital signed a patent license with Amazon. That was one of the cleaner corporate catalyst stories today. What's the significance?
Patent licensing deals like this are material for a smaller, patent-centric company because they can add recurring revenue visibility. It's validation of the IP portfolio, and, depending on the terms, it can reshape analyst estimates for licensing income moving forward.
And just to be clear for listeners, licensing income here means royalties or recurring payments tied to patents, right?
Exactly. Think of it as getting paid when your patented technology is used. For firms that make a living from intellectual property, a deal with a large customer adds predictability.
We also had some AI governance and developer tooling items. Infosys got recognition for its work with the CMMI AI Maturity Framework, and Ink and Switch and Endless Access launched a public alpha called Backstitch for the Godot engine. Those feel like signal events rather than headline-grabbing revenue beats.
Yes. Recognition from standards or governance bodies reduces implementation risk for enterprise buyers. For a services firm like Infosys, that can help accelerate sales cycles because enterprise customers often demand third-party validation when buying governed AI solutions. And Backstitch is a neat developer tooling example. Small today, but it underscores productivity tailwinds for game and app developers.
It does sound geeky, but it can matter for hardware demand down the line.
Yeah, that tracks. Better developer tools can increase demand for compute and graphics hardware, albeit indirectly and over time.
So we had tech re-rating risk on one hand and IP plus governance wins on the other. That's the bifurcation you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Traders shifted away from broad growth momentum toward event-driven winners. Analysts note that intangible assets, patents, governance certifications, open-source ecosystems are increasingly central to how companies create and capture value.
Let's move to infrastructure and workforce. There were a few slow-burn catalysts today. A groundwater desalter project broke ground. Connex and Connect was nearing completion on its third Florida fiber build with over 14,000 passings. And Prairie Operating reaffirmed a $475 million credit facility while advancing a preferred refinancing. Why do these matter now?
Infrastructure projects are multi-year revenue pipelines. Construction, engineering, and equipment suppliers look to procurement and permitting milestones as the next confirmations. For the fiber project, passings matter because they convert into potential subscribers. For the energy operator, reaffirming a $475 million facility reduced near-term refinancing risk, but commodity performance still drives cash flow over time.
Right. Procurement notices and contract awards are the things to watch if you're tracking which public companies could benefit.
Correct. Those are the real revenue triggers for vendors and suppliers.
Quick reaction segment. Short and sharp. Consumer Finance had a stat. The rent-to-own industry reported $11.8 billion in revenue for 2025. And served about 6.7 million households. That's pretty big.
It is. $11.8 billion and 6.7 million households shows scale and resilience in alternative finance. Analysts will watch credit loss trends for incumbents like Rent-A-Center and Aaron's because that affects margins and growth assumptions.
And there was also a small healthcare note. The American Association of Endodontists secured a dozen local proclamations for Save Your Tooth Month.
Those campaigns are local, incremental catalysts. They don't move the market broadly, but they can be meaningful for specialty service providers in specific communities.
Okay, let's hit the short, market-moving notes that traders were watching. An inverse leveraged small-cap ETF jumped about 3% on heavy volume, which signaled elevated interest in hedged positions. A Bitcoin futures ETF slipped about 0.25% on very high volume, which is notable because of the liquidity. There was a Form 144 filing involving Johnson & Johnson, and Morgan Stanley initiated coverage of a CRISPR company at an equal weight rating. Thoughts?
Leveraged products amplify intraday volatility and are path-dependent, so moves like a 3% jump tell you positioning was active. The Bitcoin futures ETF slipping 0.25% on very high volume suggests large flows. Sometimes that presages bigger moves. Form 144 filings can create short-term supply pressure if followed by sales, but you need to wait for Form 4 filings or SEC confirmations to understand intent. And an equal weight initiation from Morgan Stanley on a CRISPR company is a neutral stance. Analysts aren't tilting bullish or bearish right now.
Got it. So elevated trading in leveraged and crypto-linked products increases short-term stress points.
Yes. Traders should explicitly model higher intraday volatility for path-dependent instruments.
Let's summarize the main patterns you are watching from all of today's briefs.
4 quick themes. 1. Tech bifurcation. Headline technical weakness in marquee software names alongside selective fundamental wins in IP and AI governance. 2. Monetization of intangibles. Patent licensing and governance recognition are recurring themes that drive value outside classic product sales. 3. Infrastructure and labor supply focus. Groundbreakings and broadband rollouts point to multi-year demand mechanics. And 4. Elevated trading in leveraged and crypto products. That signals higher short-term positioning and volatility.
Short reaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking ahead, what should listeners watch tomorrow?
First, corporate disclosures and any earnings guidance from large software names. That's the primary catalyst after a re-rate. Second, any follow-on details from the InterDigital or Amazon announcement that clarify financial terms. Third, procurement and permitting notices tied to the Torrance groundwater desalter expansion. Contract awards will point to public company beneficiaries. Fourth, watch for Form 4 filings or SEC confirmations after the Johnson & Johnson Form 144. That clarifies insider intent. And finally, keep an eye on volume and flows in leveraged and crypto products for signals of positioning stress.
Quickfire updates before we wrap. Connection Connect near complete on that Florida fiber project with over 14,000 passings. Infosys recognized by the CMMI-AI program. Prairie Operating reaffirmed its $475 million credit facility and is working on a preferred refinancing. New developer tooling. Backstitch went public alpha. Rent to Own reported $11.8 billion in revenue. Anything to add?
Those are the key headlines. For investors, procurement notices, contract awards, earnings commentary, and specific licensing terms will be the items to track to convert these headlines into revenue signals.
Before we close, a few clear takeaways for listeners.
Number 1. The tech re-rate created near-term volatility. Expect wider option premiums and potential rebalancing flows. Number 2. IP monetization and governance recognition are real drivers of company value and can create durable revenue streams when terms are material. Number 3. Infrastructure projects and workforce initiatives are slow-burning but meaningful for multi-year revenue exposure. And number 4. Elevated activity in leveraged and crypto-linked products raises short-term path dependency risk. Model that explicitly if you trade those instruments.
And a quick reminder. This episode is for informational purposes only. We're not recommending buying, selling, or holding any specific security, and this isn't personalized investment advice. Analysts note, data suggests. That sort of objective language.
Right. Always verify filings and consult your own advisor before making portfolio decisions.
Thanks for that. If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai. Thanks for listening to Alpha Recap. We'll be back after the next close with another quick recap.